Florida sheriff says we will kill you if you come down here rioting. And it's going viral. And so I'm gonna play it. It's like 4 minutes long, so bear with us because we want to get the whole context. Check it out.
Our ICE agents, just like our Florida Highway Patrol, are our partners. We all ride together in this. We all are out here to make sure that we're protecting our citizens, protecting our communities. Many of them have been called to the border. Many of them have been called to other locations to deal with the amount of fugitives and things that are going on, detainers. So for us, we will have their back. We will work closely with Colonel Howes and his team and making sure that we're increasing patrol. We're watching them. Anybody that's doxing them, as the general said, we passed a law about 4 or 5 years ago that makes it illegal to dox here in the state of Florida. So anybody that's doing that, we will take them to full task on doing it. We will stand with you. I want to define a couple things, and our general was very kind in how he said things. I'm not as usually as elegant in how I say things. So I'm gonna first say that peaceful protests are part of our democracy. We invite people to share their opinions. That's what our country is all about. The key word in that is peaceful. And if it's peaceful, us in law enforcement are going to make sure you have a safe environment to do it in. That's part of that process. If you let it turn violent, you do not want to do that in Brevard County. I'm going to tell you that, and I believe I can speak for my fellow sheriffs around the rest of the state. You don't want to let it happen. And just so there's no confusion, because I don't want to hear any whining later saying we didn't know, I'm going to break it down for you. All right. Because as you watch these riots unfold across the rest of the country, what you are seeing is buildings being burned down, police cars being bricked, having explosive devices thrown on them, having fire, guns pointed at them, bricks thrown at them, all and on. So I'm gonna break it down for you. All right. And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing ICE agents that are being targeted for doing their jobs. And you're seeing obstructionists that are doing all of this, standing in the way of law and order. Not here, not in the state of Florida. So to make it real simple, if you don't want to have any of those things happen to you, obey the law. Go protest all you want. Do it peacefully. Stand on the mountaintops and yell your opinion, your views. We invite that. But don't you dare break the law.
So this is going pretty viral. And he has now said and emphasized that this is not California. This is not Chicago. We are not taking a blind eye to it. And he also said that they support ICE officers and they're going to make sure that they protect it also. What are your thoughts? Anybody can jump in. What are your thoughts on this sheriff speaking on behalf of Florida and saying that they will kill you dead? So help me God, if you ever throw a brick, throw a Molotov cocktail, or try to hurt one of these police officers down there in Florida.
Somebody already said it in the chat. You heard them. You heard them. You heard them. It's clear. There's no misunderstanding. This is what you can do. This is what you cannot do. This is what will happen if you do this, if you do that, if you do this, if you do that. I don't want to hear you coming later on saying you did not know. Like, that's it. It's clear. And it's all lawful. Like, you want to protest peacefully? Go ahead.
I said you can't even be mad at him, and I believe him because they eat people's faces in Florida, so they always been on
What?
so, yeah, Florida is always on some other stuff. Something
What do you
weird
mean
happens
they eat people's faces?
Who eats them?
The bad salt niggas.
right.
Yeah,
They
the-
literally eating
yeah.
people's faces.
Who?
Like
But
that's
Bab-
not an exaggeration.
some years ago, that bath salt, when bath salts got real
I
popular,
remember it. I remember it.
and people, there's somebody had bit off someone's face.
I thought it was going to be the zombie apocalypse, to be honest with you. Do y'all think that in any way he's heavy-handed? And why won't Los Angeles, all of these other liberal cities, why won't they take or put a stop to it, in y'all opinion?
You just said why, because they're liberal cities. I mean, he's just like, it won't be him doing it. I mean, because he was barely breathing during the announcement. So he's not chasing anybody down. But I commend him for getting his people together and be like, don't come over here with that. You can't
Do you
even be
think
mad.
that people would try it regardless?
I think they would have. I think this right here, this man stood up on the news in front of the whole world and was like, don't do it. And if you go over there and you do it, everybody's gonna be like, he kind of told you what would happen. I mean, what do you do from there?
All right, so let me ask y'all another question. What do y'all think is driving these riots? Do y'all think that it's either paid protesters? Do you think that is ignorance? Or do you think that people are really passionate about illegal migrants and that, or people are really just taking advantage of an opportunity to loot? What do y'all think that's really driving these protests?
All of the above. I
Why you say
think
that?
one makes the environment for the other. So the people that are paid get to hide, and get to be covert under the people that are really passionate about this stupid issue. But they get to hide behind them, the fact that they're being paid to do it. And then others get to do the same thing behind the people that are being paid. Okay, well, there's other people being paid. So let me just hop on that train and make some money from it, just like they did with BLM. So I think it's all of the above, every last one of them.
I think there's very few that actually care about what the issue is. I think the others are just angry, wanting to get something off their chest, and then the other ones want to loot. That's it. They don't care. Nobody's really caring about these immigrants. Like,
Y'all don't
if-
think people actually care about the immigrants at all?
no.
I think some do, but it's not many. But in a place like here in DC, they do.
I
Care about
think
the
that
immigrants?
Yeah, because it's a lot here. And DC's ultra liberal, like super, super, super liberal. It's probably third, maybe behind California and New York.
I think people care about immigrants, but I don't think that people are either they're not choosing to go get more information regarding what ICE is doing and why, or they're choosing to ignore it. So I think it's like, okay, I'm against you all returning certain immigrants. Y'all are coming to get immigrants. That's it. Like, they're very surface level about stuff. Because I listened to an interview today with Dr. Phil and the Border Czar from like 2 days ago, and he was talking about the first day of the riots. And when he explained why they were out there, it was like, how could anybody have an issue with why they're out here right now? And he explained the process for how they even are allowed to be out there. They have to get court orders, they have to do all of this stuff before they can even go do what they were doing. A lot of it was highly connected to drug cartels, to like people who are breaking the laws. He started talking about how a lot of times when they go and they find these people, they'll find immigrants they'll find kids, they'll find people who are forced to do enforced labor. They're not getting paid for stuff. They have people who are being threatened by drug cartel. They're not able to do anything but what they have them there to do, to pay off whatever they owe for even being able to get across the border. So a lot of the stuff that they're doing, he's like, if you guys are such advocates for the immigrants, then where are y'all on all of these things? Where are y'all on the 300,000 children that have been missing that we've been determined to find? I think they found like 30,000 of them or 20,000 of them. He's like, where are y'all when we come across these women who are being sex trafficked? Like, where are y'all then? And we're enforcing the law. Like, we don't make the law. We all we're doing is enforcing the law. He said he's been in his working with immigration for like 4 different presidencies. He's like, I don't agree with all of them, but I do what you guys decide is the law. So why are y'all rioters here? Why aren't y'all in DC where the people are making the laws? And then he said he also said that the people in LA in particular are very organized. Like I don't know if it's like an immigration advocacy group or whatever, but he said their people are pretty well organized. So he said, even though we don't let people know when we're coming, as soon as we came, they immediately were able to like notify all of their people through social media, all that stuff, so people could come out. And so Dr. Phil was like, well, let me ask you a question. All the stuff you're sharing with me, if the head of this organization were to have reached out to you to talk to you to find out why y'all are out here, would you have spoken to them? He was like, I speak to everybody. Like, I'll talk to anybody. Nobody ever contacted me or anything like that. So in my opinion, the information that's being disseminated to the people who come out is based off of whatever these advocacy groups are sharing with them. Then Dr. Phil said when he was out there, he said some of the people that we saw out there, it looked like they were just out there as a justification for a day off. Like, they're out there dancing, partying, or whatever. So you have people who don't even really, there's no cause behind it. It's just, I'm going to be a part of this. Then you have people who think they're doing good based off of what the advocacy groups are saying. And then you just have people who are just, angry. So I think it's all over the place. It's ridiculous. And then when I heard that was it the mayor? Is that the black lady?
Yeah, Karen Bass.
Between her and Maxine Waters, like I couldn't believe, I guess I'm to the point where I just can't believe that after elections are over, I can't believe that elected officials can publicly bash the president. Like, shouldn't there be a point where, listen, no matter what y'all think about the president or the leadership, after a certain period of time, you got to suck it up and just do your job. And she was blaming the whole riots on Trump, and all of that adds steam. All of that. Maxine Waters saying they're not being violent. Like, it was bananas to me.
Yeah, but they all do that, Carrie. And the bad part
they
about
shouldn't
it
be
is,
allowed to. That should get you kicked out. Like, suck
yeah,
it up.
but
China,
they
nigga,
all
that
have a
just
coup
killed
against
me.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's disrespect. It's kind of like the people who are like in the military. It's like, look, we took an oath to the country. So whoever is in charge, that's what we got to follow. Like, that's
Yeah,
just
but they
what
don't
it
know
is.
they don't know what the actual oath is. They hear, like, it was a guy on Anton's show this morning just saying stuff, right? He's like, "Oh, well, this is in the Constitution." It's not in the Constitution. Like, I
Well,
don't.
I got to push back on y'all a little bit, because so are y'all saying that they shouldn't be able to criticize the president of the United States of America?
No, she's
Nah,
talking about you're talking about the elected officials, correct?
I'm talking
Yeah.
elected officials. Yeah, I think that there should be some type of rules and regulations for, yes, you do. You have to respect the authority.
To muffle their free speech,
I
though?
got to
And
disagree with you, Ken.
not it's not about you. You can have free speech when you are with your husband and your kids, or when you're behind closed doors. But when you're acting, when you are representing the position that you were elected for, no, I don't think so. Because in my opinion, regardless of what your opinion is about him, collectively we are the government. And for me to sit
that's
up
a
here,
problem.
as the governor or the mayor or whatever, and now I am publicly denouncing the president. Like somebody said, we need to do something about this. Was that when you played Elizabeth Warren, Mika? I'm not sure.
Yeah, but they all okay. So
but
they all do that, and I kind of agree with what you're talking about as far as like I think you're probably talking about inciting violence
Well, to me, it
against the
creates
president
it. Well,
because as a police, like if you're a police officer, you cannot you don't have any rights as far as like what you would have in your civilian life. You don't have those same rights. So if they can't do it, why do the congressional get to do it? Because you're acting in the capacity as a public servant.
as the
So I
exactly.
get what you're saying. To a point, I do think they should be able to have discourse, right, and say, well, I like this, I don't, because that's how that's how they come up with bills and things like that. But I don't like the I punch them in the face, this, that, and the third. You should go out and put a bullet in them. All of that. I think
What
that
she's
is incorrect. I think
I
that
agree with speaking violently, but I think that I think it gives them more credibility to say, okay, well, this is not what I agree with. I mean, it's unrealistic to think that everybody who was already in place or who may even be put in place agrees with everything that the president.
I'm not talking about agreement. If you guys have y'all seen what the mayor said?
Which man? You talking about Karen Bass?
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen what she said.
I'm talking about that. I'm not talking about you disagree, or I'm not talking about that light level stuff. To me, what she did was she basically put the riots on the president.
And that's fine. I don't have no problem with that, Carrie.
I do. I think that in the midst of rioting actually happening in your city, this is not the time for you to be saying that. Like this is not the time. This is not going to help calm people down. This is not the time for you to be sharing your opinion. Yes, we all have our opinions, but everybody was also taught there's a time and a place. This to me is not the time nor the place for your personal opinion, because that's what it is, your personal opinion on if this riot is Trump's fault.
Well,
Like,
it is a time for her personal opinion on Carrie, because
I disagree.
yeah, but I disagree with her. I disagree with her sentiment, but I don't disagree with her ability to be able to communicate what she really think about the president of the United States of America, or any politician for that matter. And one of the reasons why I don't disagree is because that's the exact thing that we did. And a whole lot of politicians, Republicans, absolutely destroyed Biden for the majority of the time that he was in office, and criticized Kamala Harris while we had a pandemic, while we had immigration happening across the border, while we had the vid, all of that stuff, the shot, all of that stuff. And so I believe that if we didn't have that outpouring of support and the freedom of our legislators from being able to criticize what was happening for the federal government, because they declared it as an emergency, it gave him unprecedented powers to be able to do some of the things that he was able to do without the validation of all three branches of government. And so the only thing we had at that point, because it was an emergency, because it was declared an emergency, was our legislators to be able to speak out against some of the actions that was happening from the Biden administration. And so while I don't necessarily agree with what she said, I can't support the censorship of her in favor of saying that, I just rock with Trump because I'm a legislator or because I'm an elected official, because that would literally censor us. And that's a slippery slope towards censoring free speech.
And I hear you, and we probably don't share the same sentiments about what freedom of speech and censoring and all of that is. Like, I think that we have overkilled this whole notion of I don't want to be censored, I should be able to say whatever I want to say. I think that it's clear that everybody being able to say what they want to say when they want to say it, no matter how they want to say it, to whomever they want to say it, is a part of a lot of the chaos that we see now. So this isn't about you got to agree with Trump, and it's not even specific to Trump. I mean, this is just the example. It could have been somebody else. It could have been another president. It could have been a Democrat. So it's not like I'm just saying this because it's Trump. I just personally think that there is a time and a place for everything. And I think that people who
How
are
is
in
that
people who
applicable
are
to
in,
when
I
Biden
think that
was in
people who
office?
are in, I'm not saying it's not like I'm sure that there could be circumstances where if I viewed somebody saying something, even if it was about Biden, where I would say that as an elected official, as somebody in leadership, this is not the time for you to be up here bashing Biden like that. So this is not unique to Trump. That's just my
Nah,
opinion. It's
Carrie.
not unique. Why are you
Carrie.
saying? Well, you can.
I
I
can't
don't know
rock
what
with
the
that,
non.
Carrie.
Well,
I mean,
that's
the thing
fair.
is,
I'm
Carrie,
not
let's
mad
The
if you don't
problem,
rock
the,
with it, but
the problem, the problem,
that's just my view on it. And in the middle of a chaotic situation, in my opinion, your focus should be on calming the situation down and figuring out the solution. And to me, this is not the time for you to start saying part of this leadership is to blame, and like this ain't the time for that. If
That's
you got
exactly the time to say it, Carrie.
I
yeah,
disagree.
because
I disagree.
see, Kerry, the problem with what you're saying is we needed that shit in the last regime because it was too much. It was too much censorship because people were trying to get real information out there to a lot of folks who had took the jab and they shouldn't have. We needed that shit, and they
I'm not
censored
talking
everybody.
about I'm not
I'm not.
talking about censor. I'm not
Can I?
talking
Hey,
about censored
Carrie,
information.
Carrie. You were just talking for a long time. Can I get my shit out? What I'm saying is the problem with it is you can't censor anybody. You got to let people be able to say what the fuck they got to say, no matter what. And especially in times where shit is going left, we need more people to speak out. We need more people to get information out there, whether you like it or not. We need to know where folks is standing at. And that's the problem with the country. Nobody wants to say anything that might ruffle some feathers.
I
Nobody
don't
ever
agree
wants to
with
do
that.
that.
I think everybody is willing to open up their mouth and say stuff, and everybody feels justified to say whatever because nobody thinks anybody should be censored, and censorship means I to not be censored means I can say whatever I want to say about whoever I want to say whenever I want to say it. And I just don't think, me personally, I don't think that that is operating in decency and in order, especially when you are in a role of leadership. We can agree to disagree. I hear y'all. I'm not saying you should censor
Here's the other
scientific
side of it, Carrie.
information and all of that stuff. I'm just saying that
Here's
that's
the
just
other
how I
side of
look
it,
at it.
Carrie. Two things. Number one, who's to say when and where somebody went too far? Like who's the judge and jury of that, right? Who's to say when you are not acting decent and in order? That's A. The second part is why wouldn't I want somebody to authentically be who they are so that we can make a more informed decision on whether or not they should be able to still be in office? I want to know your true thoughts. I want to know how you really feel. I want to know whether or not you actually agree or disagree with Trump because it's not about the go along, get along game. It's not about being decent and in order. It's about telling me what you really think so that we can make a more informed decision on whether or not you need to be in office in the first place. Because if you're just censoring yourself and you're just in support, I think that that's one of the problems of American politics today is because the left hand don't know what the right hand is doing, and people are deceiving people and they selling them something while they actually believe something differently. So I actually believe even more in free speech, especially with our elected officials, because they are a representation of who we are, especially in these hidden conversations behind the scenes where they talking about what they really gonna do versus what their true intentions are and what they selling to people. I don't want any censorship whatsoever. It doesn't listen. Free speech does not mean that you're not held accountable for the things that you say. Free speech means that you shouldn't be censored from saying what you want to say when it doesn't align with somebody else that disagrees with you that's also in power. That they shouldn't be able to come after you because of your opinion and because of what you believe. And so it doesn't mean that you can't get ousted. It doesn't mean that the people is not going to turn against you and say, well, we shouldn't elect you because you actually don't represent our interests. Actually, it helps us. And so I don't believe in that in any level of censorship whatsoever. I
I
just don't.
only have a
I
problem
got y'all.
with
I just disagree.
I have a problem with Maxine Waters only because from just the beginning where she was on that soapbox and she was saying when you see people that are MAGA supporters get in their face, push back at them when they were out here in Virginia, they were in restaurants, beating people up. And what's her name? Sarah Huckabee was, I guess, attacked in one of those restaurants. So that all came from Maxine Waters. I don't have a problem with the freedom of speech. I have a problem when it's to incite violence on somebody else. And when it's clear cut, like Maxine Waters did, or when it's clear cut, like a gentleman did on the news when he said, "Put a bullet in Donald Trump." You're gonna have to put a bullet in him when he just
But I
got
mean,
shot at.
again,
But that's
That is
freedom of
that is
speech,
my only
Mika,
time.
and that would be censoring.
That is my only
That would
time I
be
have a problem with it.
censoring.
But here's the thing: that doesn't mean that he shouldn't be held accountable for what he says. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
But my thing is, to your first question of who's to say what who's to say how you can talk and what you can say and all of that. In my opinion, that needs to be just like they have to sign an oath when they come into office, and just like they have certain guidelines and certain things that should be a part of it.
Okay, Carrie, so I'll give you an
Level of
example.
etiquette should be a part of it. So it's
I
not.
give you an example. I give you an example, Carrie, a really good example. Hopefully you can see it. When we just played that sheriff's speech, you were all in support of what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
You were 100% in. There are some people, depending on what platform that you air that interview on, that said, I can't believe he said that because he's actually an elected official.
But that's
They
not the
said that
same.
he should
That's
not
not.
say, we will kill you if you do X, Y, and Z. He said that a lot of people said that was inappropriate for him to say it, which is one of the reasons why it's going so viral. So, do you support him saying it because he's actually an elected official, or do you disagree with him because it wasn't decent and in order?
That's not a comparable example, because my issue is when you're the stuff that some of these elected officials are saying, it is creating, in other words, a breakdown with the rest of the government. To me, once a president, especially a president, gets into office, there should be certain things that the president can expect. And all of us, all of the elected officials, there should be some level of decorum, some code of ethic, where even if we disagree on certain issues or whatever, there is a certain level of, dare I say, unity that we have before the public. There is just a certain level of that has to take place, because if we're breaking down, it's going to support our people breaking down. It's going to make the separations be that much bigger, which in my opinion is what we're seeing. All of the nonsense that's happening in between the Dems and the Republicans, and everybody being able to speak what they want to speak, no matter what, you can see it trickling into the communities of people.
So how do you propose that we determine what should be censored and what shouldn't?
I mean, I don't know how to, I don't necessarily know how to like write it out, but there's just a certain level of we have a united front when we're before people during, I don't know, maybe it's during certain types of moments, chaotic moments. Maybe you would define it like if it's something that's posing a threat to the greater good of the people. We're not.
Okay,
This is
so I'll
not
give you
the
another
time
example.
for
I'll
us
give you
to
another
be
example,
fighting
okay?
back and forth. Maybe
Some of
when
us,
we're dealing.
I'll give you another example. Some of us don't believe some of the reasons that we went to war, but other people said that we should be united because we need to be moving in solidarity and we shouldn't be criticizing whoever the commander in chief is making the decisions on whether or not we go to war. One of the people that I criticize heavily is the second Bush. Hold on, let me bring Carrie back here a second. One of the
I'm
people that I
sorry, I
criticized.
froze.
No, you cool. One of the people, I don't know if you was able to hear some of the stuff that I was saying.
I didn't. Whenever
Okay,
I
I
froze.
said, for example, there's a lot of things that we disagree with when it came to some of the wars that we participated in,
Mhm.
right? I criticized the second Bush heavily because I believe that, I don't want to say this too much. I believe that what they sold us on why we then invaded Iraq and how we created all of these different terrorist groups, I believe that that wasn't true, right? But even till today, you still can't say certain things out loud because it is criticizing a president and it is criticizing certain things that we may or may not disagree with. I believe that that is a form of censorship. I don't believe that we went to war for the right reasons, but the whole country then gathered behind it because they was able to sell it to us by saying that, well, look, it's some terrorists and some planes hit the towers and all of that stuff. So if we can't, and the people, in my opinion, that we really needed to stand up against it, which none of them did, is our legislators and our elected officials. None of them said anything. All of them was a part of the go along, get along gang, which then made me even more skeptical because I'm like, who is hold something over their head? Because I can't believe that everybody agreed with this. And so I don't believe that just because there are times where, we supposed to be in solidarity or whatever on whatever issue, I don't agree with it. I think that there should be healthy debate and a lot of criticism, especially when I may disagree with it. And I don't like the idea that there has to be any form of censorship whatsoever because it gives them unprecedented power to be able to do what they want to do when they want to do it because we can't say what we really think, or they can't say, the people that we elected in the office can't say what they really think.
I think that I don't know, maybe I'm not representing my opinion properly because I'm certainly not suggesting that there shouldn't be the opportunity for people to disagree with one another and for people to have healthy dialogue with one another and discourse with one another and to be able to voice your grievances somewhere and to be able to challenge. Like, that's not what I'm saying. And maybe it's that's what I'm saying. I don't know what the language would be, but maybe it's during certain situations. Maybe it's times of crisis. Maybe it's when you're before the public. You're doing press conferences on something that would be considered an emergency for the people. I don't know, but I just feel like at certain times the focus should not be on let me point the finger at our leadership right now in the midst of an emergency. We need to deal with the
When
emergency,
Trump, when Trump,
especially. Oh, go ahead.
when Biden and Kamala Harris was involved in some of the stuff that they were dealing with that a lot of people would consider an emergency. What Trump and a lot of elected Republicans was doing was saying, listen, we should not be doing this. We shouldn't be sending money over to Israel. We should not be, or not to Israel, to Taiwan. We should not be sending money over there to Ukraine. We shouldn't even be in this war. They were openly criticizing the decisions that was happening to the Biden administration was making on the behalf of the United States of America and using our taxpayer dollars to do it. Do you think that they should have been criticizing them, or do you think that they should have been more in solidarity with what the decisions that was being made, considering that it was a very
And you
important situation?
and you said Trump and who else was doing it?
And a lot of our elected Republicans were critical of where we were sending our money, and conversely, a lot of Democrats was critical of some of the situations, some of the decisions that Trump was making in both his first term and at this time. And so it goes both ways. Should
Well,
should they have been more in solidarity, or should they have been even more critical and open with their opinion?
Well, one, are these people, are these during their committee meetings, during their Senate hearings, like there's a time and a place allocated for I disagree with what's happening. And then two, Trump, if he wasn't an elected official, like this was when Biden was president. So this is now Trump is just a person. So
And all of the a
so
lot of Republican elected officials. That's why.
then so if they I would need more context in terms of what they were talking about and in what forum, because again, I'm not saying don't have an opinion, don't have a view, and certainly, like, especially if it's something that is not, I don't want to say not detrimental, because some of the things you're thinking of you may consider detrimental, but I'm trying to focus on these really critical moments when the people's well-being is what is at hand right now. To me, that is not the time to have a breakdown in leadership. So I
don't understand Jessica saying Anton just wants to disagree. I fundamentally support free speech.
Right. So Carrie,
how am I just wanting to disagree because I don't agree with this particular point of what Carrie is saying? That don't even make sense.
So Carrie, if on Monday you have an elected official who's disagreeing with Trump, and then on Tuesday something critical happens, and now all of a sudden they're like following behind him, that wouldn't just seem absolutely insane to you?
No, well, your example is a little weird, because I'm not saying you can't disagree. Like, let everybody disagrees with everybody at some point in time. So that's not what I'm talking about. But yeah, if you don't care for Trump on Monday, and that's fine, but on Tuesday a riot breaks out in your city, yeah, don't get on the microphone talking about this is Trump's fault. No, don't do that.
I think they should be able to say exactly what they believe.
I get that. Y'all said that. I get you. I don't. I think there needs to be some level of, no, this is not the time. Sorry. This is one of the things. It's just like when you join the CIA, the FBI, like, there's certain privileges you get, yeah, but there's certain things you can't do like a regular everyday person. And you can play the rule of, but here are my rights and all this stuff. But the fact, like, my cousin works for the CIA. She can't just freely talk about everything, but she could be like, but what about my freedom of speech? Well, you got a choice to make, because when you became
Carrie,
a part of,
now.
no,
You're conflating confidential
I'm
information.
not conflating. What I'm
Yes, you
saying,
are, Carrie.
no,
You are conflating
let me
confidential
drive
information
my point home. I'm not conflating. My point is this: when you get into certain positions, there may be things that you normally could freely do if you were not in that position, that now that you're in this position, you may not freely be able to do, or be able to do in the same way. And in my opinion, this is the type of thing that I think there should be a little bit more structure, if you will, to. And it's not just unique to Trump. It's not just unique to Republicans. I feel this. I even feel about, even during the elections and like all the ugly campaigning, I feel that way about a lot of this stuff. So this is not just this situation. So, but I get it. Y'all disagree, and I'm cool with that. I'm all right with that.
Okay.
I'm all, like I said, I'm all for freedom of speech, as long as it's not just talking about somebody dying. Other than that, say what you want.